Welcome to today's explainer. So your minimum occupation period, your MOP, is officially done. You can finally sell your BTO flat. It's a massive financial milestone, maybe the biggest one you've hit so far. But hold on a second. Should you sell it today? At what exact price? Which platforms actually work? And what on earth happens to all that CPF money you've been pouring into it? Today, we are going to master the absolute art of selling your BTO flat for maximum value. And, more importantly, we'll figure out exactly how to calculate your true cash profits. Let's dive right in. It's literally the big question every single Singaporean couple faces. Your 5-year MOP is up. The clock has stopped ticking. Do you just slap that for sale sign on the door right now? Well, a lot of people just assume that the second they cross that 5-year finish line, they need to sprint to the open market. But as we're going to see, timing is absolutely everything. Jumping the gun, especially without understanding the financial mechanics behind the scenes, can actually cost you tens of thousands of dollars in potential profit. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our structured roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The CPF trap. 2. The profit breakdown. 3. Timing the market. 4. A step-by-step guide. And finally, 5. The top platforms you need to use. Let's jump right into Section 1, the CPF trap. Listen, this is probably the most critical part of this entire explainer. And honestly, it's the most misunderstood financial hurdle in Singapore real estate. Here is the harsh reality of selling property here. When you sell your flat, you don't actually keep all the cash profit. You know that CPF ordinary account money you withdrew to pay for the flat? Yeah, you have to refund every single dollar of it back to yourself. And it's not just the principal amount. You also have to pay back the 2.5% compound interest per year for every single year you use that money. It's called CPF accrued interest. Now, yes, you are essentially paying it back to yourself, but man, it significantly impacts the actual cold, hard cash you get to walk away with today. Let's anchor this concept with a real-life example to put it into perspective. Meet Alex and May. So, they used $76,000 from their CPF for their initial down payment. Over 9 years, that's 4 years of construction plus 5 years of MOP, at that 2.5% compound interest, that principal balloons into a $94,000 refund obligation, right? But wait, add in their monthly CPF contributions to the mortgage. At $1,200 a month for 5 years of MOP, plus the interest on those installments, we're adding roughly another $76,000. Suddenly, the total CPF refund they are required to make upon selling is a staggering $170,000. I mean, that is a massive sticker shock if you aren't completely prepared for it. Moving on to Section 2, the profit breakdown. Now, what's really interesting about this is how that massive CPF refund actually changes the math of walking away with cash in hand. Let's look at the actual numbers step by step. Say Alex and May sell their flat for $600,000. Okay, first things first, we got to deduct that hefty CPF refund of $170,000. Gone. Next up, we have to clear the outstanding mortgage balance, which for them is $150,000. Then we minus the agent commission, which is typically around 1% for selling, so that's $6,000, and then throw in about $3,000 for legal fees. So at the end of the day, a $600,000 sale actually translates to approximately $271,000 in final physical cash in hand. But hey, let's reframe this narrative for a second, because this is where things get incredibly exciting. That $170,000 CPF refund, it didn't just vanish into thin air. It went straight back into their CPF ordinary account, which means they can use it immediately for their next property purchase. So their effective capital to redeploy, their total war chest, if you will, is their $271,000 cash plus that $170,000 sitting in CPF. That gives them a massive $441,000 total war chest for their next strategic move up the property ladder. Not too shabby, right? Which brings us to Section 3, timing the market. So, having a $441,000 war chest is obviously fantastic, but what if you could make it even bigger just by pulling the trigger at the exact right moment? You really want to be on the lookout for these perfect market signals. First off, keep an eye on the quarterly HDB resale price index. You want to sell when it's rising or hitting a peak. Second, watch out for nearby private condo launches. This is a big one. When developers launch a flashy new condo near you, neighborhood demand shoots up. Buyers who miss out on those new launch units, they'll immediately turn to resell HDBs right in your area. Third signal, new MRT stations. Sell 6 to 12 months after a new station opens to snag the maximum premium. And finally, of course, make absolutely sure your 5-year MOP is fully wrapped up. Time is money in asset progression, folks, so don't sit on your hands too long once those conditions align perfectly. But I have to give you a very firm, clear warning here. Do not sell during a property downturn.
Seriously, if the market dips and you miss your perfect timing window, do not panic sell at a lower price. So what should you do instead? Just continue living there, maybe even rent out a spare room in your flat for some extra passive income, and simply wait it out for better market conditions to return. Patience really pays off here.
All right, Section 4, our step-by-step guide.
So, the crucial point here is execution. Knowing when to sell is great, but how do you actually pull it off? Let's walk through the tactical playbook. Step 1, get a valuation. Just hop onto the HTB online portal to check recent transaction prices in your block. Step 2, you need to decide between hiring a property agent, who generally charges a 1 to 2% commission, or going the DIY route. Now, while DIY obviously saves you fees, an experienced agent's negotiation skills will very often more than pay for their own commission, especially on your first sale. Step 3, your agent lists the property everywhere for maximum exposure. Step 4, you coordinate the viewings. And Step 5, you accept an offer and grant an option to purchase, or OTP. The buyer literally pays a $1 exercise fee for this, and that grant period usually lasts 21 days.
Now, I love this next part. Here is a fascinating, almost psychological pro tip for you. You, as the seller, should not be present during viewings. Sounds crazy, right? But think about it. Buyers need to feel completely comfortable. If the current owner is hovering around in the hallway, buyers feel super awkward. They want to be able to speak freely, point out flaws, and negotiate openly with just the agent. Giving them that breathing room very often leads to a much stronger offer. Wrapping up our timeline, we hit steps 6 and 7. The buyer registers the resale application with HDB, and both parties complete the paperwork online. This whole waiting game takes about 8 to 10 weeks. Finally, the big day arrives. Completion day. You hand over the keys, receive your cash proceeds, and oh, that massive CPF refund we stressed over earlier? Don't worry, HDB processes that entirely automatically right back into your account. And that brings us to our final part, Section 5, Top Platforms. To build your final action plan, you really need to know exactly where to go online. And this brilliantly illustrates the distinct difference between platforms used for researching versus platforms used for selling. For research, checking fair value and comparing prices, you'll want to use the official HDB resale portal database, srx.com.sg for spotting trend analysis, and EdgeProp for their fair value estimating tools. But when it comes time to actually sell and get your listing out there, you have to be where the eyeballs are. Property Guru commands a whopping 81% of buyer search traffic in Singapore. So list there first, absolutely, followed closely by 99.co for some fantastic secondary exposure. Oh, and before we wrap, here is a data-backed golden nugget for you. List your flat on a Thursday or Friday afternoon. Why? Well, the data shows that viewings are most frequently scheduled on weekends. By dropping a totally fresh listing onto the platforms right before the weekend kicks off, you are guaranteed to catch peak buyer traffic when it's at its absolute highest. It's a real game changer. So we've broken the whole shebang down. Just imagine, you've perfectly timed the market, and you've sold your BTO at the absolute peak. You've got hundreds of thousands of dollars in pure cash sitting in your hand. Your CPF ordinary account is fully replenished. That beautiful $441,000 war chest is locked, loaded, and ready to go. You have all the financial power now. So what does this all mean? The only question left is, what is your next strategic move going to be to climb that private property ladder? Think about it, and we'll see you in the next explainer.